Hello you stinky viewer. Go watch more videos, ugly. Today I'm gonna talk about Mercenaries, Playground of Destruction. An open world shooter developed by Pandemic and published by LucasArts for the original Xbox and PlayStation 2 in 2005. You can tell LucasArts is involved in the game as it's set in an unfamiliar alien world of North Korea. You might know Pandemic Studios for Star Wars Battlefront 2 and the more aptly named Full Spectrum Warrior. The story consists of North Korea trying to establish a democracy, but the leader is overthrown by General Song in a coup to remain in power. As tensions arise and the risk of nuclear conflict increases, major powers are drawn to North Korea to de-escalate the war one way or the other. After careful considerations, Executive Operations, or XOps, plans to import an independent and neutral element into the battlefield. I'm of course talking about you, the mercenary, who's loyal only to the highest bidder and undeterred by trivial things such as ethics or war crimes, whatever those are. You choose between three people: Matthias Nielsen, the last remaining male from Sweden, Chris Jacobs, the token black guy, and Jennifer Mui, a British MI6 agent who'd definitely get it right in the bumhole. At first, the choice between these mercenaries is harmless. However, there's a catch. Jacobs has more health, Matthias moves faster, and Jennifer is more stealthy, which in a game about blowing shit up is as useful as a Catholic priest babysitter. The even more interesting thing is that each character knows a different language. Matthias knows Russian, Jacobs knows Korean, and Jennifer knows Chinese. Why does this matter exactly? Well, each faction in the game has mission briefings before each mission, and if your character knows their language, you can actually get a bonus objective and get some bonus cash. You start the game in a plane and are introduced to your weapons, vehicle, and PDA. You drive out the plane and proceed to the demilitarized zone, where you get your first number card. Some of these number cards are side missions found in the open world, and the royals are encountered in main story missions. When you gain a visual of your target, you have two options. 1. Kill them and claim the bounty, or 2. Knock them out and capture them and exfil on an evac chopper, which rewards you double the price. You have a fair amount of weapons to choose from, including assault rifles, SMGs, sniper rifles, rocket launchers. You can also drive vehicles, and these are far more diverse, from shitty jeeps, white sedans, APCs, tanks, sports cars, trucks, and helicopters. The movement is fine and the driving is adequately arcadey. But the controls are fucking dog shit. A to reload, X to melee, and B to jump. What the fuck? It's pretty annoying that you can't drive through fences or traffic lights there, and small trees and bushes just fucking own your life. Like damn, so many times I've witnessed an unstoppable car meeting an immovable wooden fence. North Korea is an interesting choice for the setting, and as you'd expect, it's an uninhabitable hellscape, slightly less so than South Korea. The sky is often gloomy and the music is actually quite melancholic, especially when coupled with the sights of abandoned homes and war-torn cities. Sometimes it feels like it's so foggy that a cliff racer is about to attack me. You do get the impression that this entire place is just one big tug of war between these 5 factions. There's vehicular side activities too, which are just time trials, and there's also collectibles in the world. These collectibles include Chinese art pieces, deadly chemicals,
you can't keep getting away with it!
Statues to destroy, and listening posts to uproot. Collecting enough of these things will reward you with some faction reputations, and even cheat codes if you manage to find enough. You've also got ones like change your character to Han Solo. Why you would want to play as these relics of the past, I could not tell you. The first few missions introduce the players to the factions, but after that you're free to pick your sides. The South Koreans are comprised of androgynous men, who are all really skinny, presumably because they can't mukbang in the middle of a war zone. They are the only factions whose special unit are women, but the weak males are compensated with the most powerful arsenal in the game. Futuristic attack helos and laser-guided missiles are commonplace for these clowns. The Russian mafia looks like ISIS NPCs, but they are actually pretty chill. They just want to cruise around North Korea in their shitty jeeps. And the Chinese look like carbon copies of the North Koreans. The South Koreans just want peace with North Korea. The Russian mafia want to use North Korea as a big weapon smuggling operation. And the Chinese want to replace the mass graves of North Korean citizens with Disneylands. Each faction will have a reputation meter, which fluctuates when you kill their soldiers or complete missions for them. This seems simple at first, but can get complicated later on in the game, when the only people who know the whereabouts of the Queen of Clubs are the Chinese, and I've just spent the last 5 minutes turning their soldiers into Swiss cheese. There are workarounds to these problems. For one, you can disguise yourself by driving in a faction's vehicle. This disguise will be broken if you honk your horn or do any other stupid shit, which is important to know, unless you like being shot at on sight by literally everyone, just because you're driving a North Korean Jeep in the same plane of existence as them. Strangely enough, your disguise isn't broken in Chinese tanks if you run over pedestrians. How interesting. You can also bribe hostile factions to perform their missions, but this can cost a pretty penny. Still, it's an investment worth making if you're gonna go after the royals. So what is this deck of 52? Well, they're an elite group of North Koreans categorized by the Allied nations. The clubs are criminal overlords and gang leaders. The diamonds are war generals and commanders of Song's armies. The hearts are nuclear weapon scientists and researchers. And the spades are the most dangerous enemy of them all, women. Let's go ahead and read this one's bio. The Eight of Spades was a prostitute before she was recruited to join Chong's Special Force Division. If you capture her alive, let me know what she's like. After neutralizing the royals, you're free to go after the ace. The aces are found in special boss areas, which involve the player fucking shit up until the ace comes out of hiding. They are worth significantly more money than the other deck members, and when you play these missions you'll know why. You'll have to utilize anything you can get your hands on, from cluster strikes to bunker busters, APCs to helicopters, LMGs to RPGs. After neutralizing the ace, you will upgrade to the next tier of cards. It's a nice way of gating players because some of the later cards suck dick, like the 9 of Diamonds for example, who decides the best way to hide from you is behind 4 giant missiles. And if you get out of your vehicle, this happens. Fun. Halfway through the game, you'll also be taken to a different map, and this map is significantly better than the first map, with much more varied locations. The more deck of 52 members you neutralize, the bigger the power vacuum becomes in North Korea. Story-wise, not much really happens in the game, though there is a massive power struggle between South Korea and China for the land of North Korea. In the beginning of the game, this involves small ambush attacks, but in the end it escalates into a full-blown conflict, involving you destroying a big fuck-off bridge, some big fuck-off planes, and a big fuck-off boat. The Chinese give you access to the fuel air bomb, which blankets an area in fuel and ignites it, causing a mini nuke and plus 25 social credit score to your account. There are some things which didn't age very well, which is just par for the course back in those days. For example, no checkpoints in missions, no auto-saving, not being able to swim, no parachutes, cars setting on fire when they're upside down, and that clown car thing I mentioned earlier where buildings just spawn an endless amount of enemies. Speaking of enemies, there's not that much variety in this game. There's soldiers, special soldiers, and soldiers in vehicles. That's it. A bit like my videos, there's also problems with the audio mixing, like Jennifer is really loud and then Matthias is super quiet. There are some things that did age pretty well though, like some of the explosions are actually pretty impressive. The rain effects actually look wet, and the atmosphere is bleak and depressing, but never overbearingly so. There was a sequel released in 2008, set in Venezuela. It was a decent game, but it was still overshadowed by Just Cause though. I'm sorry that this video took so long, but I promise that next time, things will be different. But for now, goodbye.